It is so much fun to transform these villages from something completely ordinary to something a little bit more epic. And that's what this video is going to be all about. I've been wanting to explore the pirate theme for a while, and this seed seemed completely perfect. Welcome to another video. I'm GeminiTay, and let's get started with the building process. To begin with this build, we needed a more epic piece of terrain. The island was fairly flat, and I wanted something to give us an amazing background that would really set the scene. A volcano seemed perfect, so I got some world edit going in a flat world and created this epic volcano. Once pasted into the island, you can see it makes a very big difference. Now we're ready to actually start with the building of the structures. Hang on. I need to stop the video for a second. I want to actually show you my technique for building ships, kind of in a slower form, just real fast. This is how I frame them out, right? So I start with this bottom line along here, starting with the very bottom of the ship. The back goes up a little steeper, and then I slope the front forward. Then I come up this way and just make a nice little shape right flat around, connecting that in 3 dimensions. And then you can add these little connectors along like this, and this looks sort of like the process of building a boat in real life. Now, of course, the way that you do this does depend on what type of ship you're building, but generally, if you have some type of reference art, you'll be able to figure it out and hopefully get something fairly organic. The next piece of advice I have for you comes from the sails. Too often I see people building boats that have fairly flat sails that don't have a lot of shape to them. To combat this, I like to put my sails at an angle. This helps kind of force me into doing a more organic shape. So I'll bring the mast straight up and then I'll angle these just like so. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging with the sails. For the sails, usually I will map something out similar to this so that I can kind of get a good feel for how it's going to look, and then I would just connect it all together. Remember, you're wanting to have something that looks like it can catch the wind. I try to have a nice curve going in it right here, especially if it's going full sail. Now, don't have your ship going full sail directly into a port because it's going to end up a shipwreck, as you'll see in this video. Speaking of, let's get back to it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is something that's very important to speeding up the entire process of this build. I'm going to be making 3 very basic ships. No details, not even a rudder. I'm going to use these to paste into my build as I need them and add details to them where they're needed. This is going to keep me consistent and make it so I don't have to build a ship's hull every time I need them. If you don't have world edit and you're wondering if this is still possible, totally is. You'll have to learn how to use structure blocks in the clone command, but it can totally be done on any version of the game. You can see here I'm using them to make a shipwreck base. Instead of having these awkward floating islands jutting out all over the place, I thought balancing some houses on the shipwrecks of perhaps enemy ships that have stumbled upon this island accidentally may be just appropriate for a pirate's house. The other fun thing I do is actually use some ships upside down for the roofs of these houses. I think this gives a really lovely quirky feel to the pirate's house. I'm going to be using that technique especially here in the center where we're creating this captain's quarters. I'm going to take 2 ships and create this 2-story house, a big one on the bottom and then a smaller one on the top, creating lots of different broken pieces, sort of pieces of a ship's mast, a crow's nest, ropes hanging all over the place, just essentially making a mess, and somehow that actually looks really good in this style. Now we're going to focus on this section of floating houses over here. We're going to take the terrain out of it and turn it into a floating wharf sort of situation. Then on the shore, we're going to create a shipwreck. So you know those shipwrecks that just spawn naturally? You could totally do this with one of those. I'm going to use my own shipwreck so that I can put in my own details, but basically all I'm doing is splitting it in half down the middle to make it look like it cracked, adding a little mast that's fallen over and sort of turning it into a house. Then we're going to get rid of that little farm and focus on the well that for some reason is filled with villagers. I don't know what's wrong with this map, but the villagers keep congregating in my well. And I can't explain it, but you'll see them go back in there momentarily. Anyways, now we're moving on to have sort of a little dock area with some crates and some TNT. I thought that was suiting, although I do hope it doesn't blow up. And now for more floating houses. We're going to put these up on some stilts, and I'm going to keep this very basic. You'll notice with some of the houses in this world, as with the one that I'm working on right now that I'm elevating onto an actual ship. Some of them are very, very different from the original village houses and have changed quite a lot, but then some of them, like the one right next to the ship, are kept almost identical to the original village. I think having this balance between more complex houses and very simple houses helps to keep me grounded throughout this entire process, and of course keeps that original Minecraft village feel. Here's a couple more simple houses over here, one again keeping that original village feel to it, and the other turning into a smaller version of those upside down boat roof houses. With a flag and a few banners, this area is now complete. Let's move on to the blacksmith. A blacksmith for pirates was actually something that I struggled with a lot because, well, pirates usually go get most of their armor and tools, right? They don't need to make it typically. So I struggled a little bit with coming up with a concept, but I think this worked out in the end and the quirky design ends up looking okay. And again, for farms, kind of a similar problem. I'm not actually sure how pirates would get their food, although I assume they would have to eat something, so maybe chickens and the eggs that come from that would be just perfect. A simple coop does the trick. Now, I still do want this to feel like a village, so of course we need an area for people to trade, a market. This old ship's mast that is sort of ragged and torn now is a perfect spot for a market center. And then another little booth off to the side finishes the look. Off on this sort of jutting island over here, I wanted to do a little hut. I'm going to be continuing this design in the back as well, but basically this is just a very flat shipwreck that has some farms growing in it. I thought this looked great and it was a good replacement for the farms. And with this final house on the end, keeping the exact same shape once again, just adding a little spruce border and changing out the walls to be the mushroom block, which is the block that I chose for this palette. Then, with some more palm trees, that is the last of the houses done. Now we're just on to details. Like this path here that looks more like a bridge, I decided to turn it into an actual bridge. And over on this sort of crossed island over here, I wanted to have a watchtower. I thought this would really suit the area, and the pirates would definitely need something like that. So a rugged watchtower on this island is perfect. And speaking of rugged, we are going to want to transform the beach. Adding soft palm trees all over the place does the trick, but it's not quite enough. I also want to have some areas of reef that are kind of jutting out of the water. This rocky, patched area really makes the land look more rugged and adds a lot of detail that is really needed for the atmosphere of this island. And finally, just going to be going in and adding in a few more of those farms to complete the look and fill in a bit more space on our island. After that, the build is complete. Let's go check it out. Guys, it's time to show the video. This is the part where we actually show them the whole build and you guys look fancy and do stuff, and please leave my well. Please leave. Thank you, sir. Why are they like this? This ought to solve that problem. this build was honestly so much fun. I think it might be one of my absolute favorites to date. So let's take a quick walk through what I did in game, shall we? But first, let's get some shaders on. Much better. These are the BSL shaders. They're absolutely fantastic. Let's go tour this lovely pirate scene with these. I think the first thing of note as you walk around here is definitely some of the things that they have trapped. This creature, for example, definitely a weird catch. The entire area as you look around is surrounded by ships, whether they are docked or just off in the distance through the various buildings. I think this really gives a good atmosphere to the entire area. Of course, there is interior to each of these buildings, just various things, lots of these different barrels where they can get, I'm sure, different forms of alcohol that pirates would like, and upstairs, a simple sleeping quarter. Hello, sir. Are you heading in your house? Sure, I'll leave you alone. Let's head to shore now and see this lovely market area. If you'll notice, there's a few of these armor stand creatures all around. You can see 2 in this shot, if you have a good eye. These are created by the lovely Kersen. He is an amazing mod and member of my Discord server. I really appreciate him doing those. They're so adorable and such good assets to a world. What do you want? What? What? Villagers are so weird to work around. It's just... why? Alright, so the market itself is pretty uneventful. I used some player heads to get some different gold and little satchels, pots, different valuables that they may have gotten over their various adventures. Also, a little map of the area sits right here, and I think this actually looks surprisingly good on map, which is why I put that there. You guys are so loud. You're so loud. Why? I know I took you out of your well, but like seriously, I built so many houses. There's so many houses. Another one of my favorite areas is this right here. This is the thumbnail. This is a thumbnail perspective. I love this docked ship. And this is actually originally the butcher. So what I've done is I've kept the chimney in its original spot, and I've pretty much kept the interior. It's got a little smoker right there, and I've made it kind of look like this ship has different barrels of food, and they're cutting up some meats and really make it look like it's a working ship. And I think those sort of details add so much to this scene. I mean, what a great place to live and work. And again, mixed in with these much fancier houses in the pirate theme, we still have these very basic village houses. And I think this is good proof that you don't need every single structure to be super fancy and amazing to have a good build, because I think there's a really good balance here between very basic transformation on a structure and a much more extreme transformation on a structure, and something to be said about both of these for sure. I know I have used lecterns here as railing. I think they work fantastic. I've used them again right up there. They look great with these structures just because there's so much wood, but I will say if you are doing a village and you're using this, you will get a lot of librarians, which honestly I wouldn't complain about because they're kind of a good trading, so maybe do use it. I don't know. Let's head this way now into the captain's quarters from along here. As you can see, here is our lovely little shipwreck. I love this central area. It looks like this was maybe the starting point, like this ship wrecked here, and over time it's just built up into this epic area. Anyways, captain's quarters coming right up. So in through here, I've done some pretty basic interior. We've got a few barrels stacked up here, an area of treasure, some different skulls. Out through this room, we've got an area where people can gather and maybe drink, enjoy some food, whatever. Upstairs, we have a lovely map room right here, a place where you can sit on a desk. And as we continue up further, we have this lovely view, and we can pop out onto the balcony. This captain definitely has the best view, although I'm not too sure about that volcano. Here's our lovely blacksmith. Again, just some pretty ordinary details throughout here, an area to work and sleep, and some gold stacked up along here. I love the look of this whole market area. I enjoy creating things that look very busy, and this style very much hands itself to that, because you've got a lot of layers here. You've got things going on overhead, you've got things going on the ground, and everything is very busy. But I think because of that very neutral color palette that I have gone for, it's not overwhelmingly busy. It's like, it's crazy, but it's fine to look at because it's so neutral. There's so many woods. I've used brown and white for the walls and just some very simple color accents and spots. So it never feels like it's overwhelming or too chaotic to look at. I think that about concludes our tour of my pirate island. Let me know what you thought down in the comments down below. I can't wait to hear from you. I've been waiting to do this idea for such a long time, and when I saw this seed, the inspiration finally hit me. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel, and don't forget to subscribe and hit like on this video if you'd like to see more content like this. Thank you so much. I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!